Hello, this is Wolfram Müller speaking, founder Blue Dolphin. This time, a very short tutorial about the new 3.0 release of the SmartPipeliner, and I'm very proud to release this. Many thanks to Jan van Egmond and many others who contributed to this idea. What's the special thing about the EssentialFlow release? You know already maybe the SmartPipeliner is a very good tool to identify the constraint in an organization and stagger the projects so that the constraint is not overloaded and none other resources are overloaded. So a very, very good tool to identify constraint, the real important thing, make the right strategic decision, find due dates and start dates, and prepare decision papers on this. So that's all the planning part. And now with the EssentialFlow release, the SmartPipeliner gets a small execution management on top. But to do this, a new special kind of team has to be integrated. So the SmartPipeliner now knows about the constraint team. It's a special character in the team ID that shows that this is a constraint or a virtual constraint, and this is used for staggering. And of course, then you will see a roadmap view, and you get all these dates resulting out of the planning and the execution management, and already a small kind of buffer management is included. So it's a very small release, not much more functionality than before, but very powerful to really use it as a first start in the multi-project management world. So as I said, what's new? In the team list, you will see the first change. There are the normal teams with normal team IDs. And if the team ID has a star as first character, then it's a drum resource. It's used for staggering. And it's especially marked in the constraint. So that's it, not more. And like any other resource, there is a capacity behind. Nothing changed on this. What is new? New is, of course, if you generate now the team balancing sheet, you have the standard teams, and below you see, of course, the virtual drum resource. And because it's not a real resource, typically the capacity is something like 1, 2, or 3. And if a project is in this phase, it is marked as a normal capacity. So also in the project sheets, you will see this virtual drum team as a normal team, and it's just in the constraint or not in the constraint, not planned on a detailed day base or something like that. So that's the team balancing sheet. So just a new team, nothing really new, but the new visual part of it is the roadmap. So it's nothing very extraordinary. You see simply the projects that are planned. You see here, of course, when it starts, the load. In this case, it's not the load per team, it's an overall load for the whole project. And if in this month a team with a star, so a constraint is touched, then it's marked in orange. So you see exactly, or very simple, this project 1 has 1 month, then it comes into the constraints, and then has downstream 3 months. The next project has 2 months before the constraints, 2 in the constraint, and then 3 afterwards, and smaller one, maybe 1 month before, 1 month in, and 1 month out. So it's a very simple view. And of course, there may be projects that do not touch the constraints. They do not have an orange, of course, and they do not have this small information when the project enters or exits the constraint. So that's it. So a very simple way to show it as a Gantt chart. And that are the first two features. Sounds very simple, and it is like this. It's more or less to make transparent where the constraint is. And now a new area in the project list occurs. So if you push the generate team balancing button, before you saw in the prior versions, you just saw the end month. And now you have all 4 dates if they are available as a real day in the calendar. So it starts in the beginning of the month. And this project, like planned, will end at this month, and it will start in the constraint, and it will exit the constraint on this. And you see the first project was 1 month in the constraint, so it enters on the first of the month and at the end of the month. So you already know the SmartPipeliner is not more detailed than month, and that's absolutely okay for most of the project organizations I know of. So you have here a clear and very simple overview when a project is in the constraint or before the constraint and stuff like this. And that is also the base for the execution management. So if you have the 4 dates of a project, then you can easily deal with some kind of a status management. So, and the status management is done very simple. So there is a day, and it's entered manually because maybe you make a copy out of it for generating a report or anything like this. So it don't changes automatically. So in this case, I simulate some kind of a portfolio with 6 projects, and the first starts on the 1st of January in 23, and I will do a report in a few days before, and that makes no sense at all. So everything is clear, but it can happen that you already give some kind of a report. So maybe the project manager on Christmas Eve he sees the Excel and it just says, okay, I give a report. So the project manager just enter here the date when he gives the report, and here he gives the information about what status the project has. So, and there are 5 statuses. 3 are for projects with constraint, and 1 for non-constrained projects. And of course, there's the 5th one, the not started. So maybe the project manager says, okay, it's Christmas Eve, I did not start. And that's fine. He had not to be started. So you will see here no hint at all. But maybe he says, okay, hey, I started already. So, and he selects in progress. And in progress, it's that's meant for projects without a constraint. So you will get the message, oh, sorry, you have a constraint. So use, please, the more specific statuses for projects with constraint. So, and if you have a constraint project, then you have 3 phases: before the constraint, in the constraint, and after the constraint. And maybe he says, okay, I started already. I'm not in the constraint. It's Christmas, so I'm before the constraint. And then you already see, oh, there's another message. So the project started too early because regarding the planning, it's 1st of January when you have to start, but this is definitely before. So you started too early. So you see, depending on what data you have entered here, you will get different messages. And maybe now it's the 2nd of January. So the project portfolio manager looks at it and says, okay, now we have to do a real status. And he says, okay, today, it's today. And then he see, okay, the 24th was the last time the project manager gave the status. and the status is outdated. So that makes no sense anymore. Huh? You can't work with outdated status. So it's outdated if it's older than a week. Hmm? So that means he goes to the project manager, and the project manager says, yes, I started a little too early. Sorry about this. Huh? And it's today, of course, but we are still before the constraint, and then you will see everything is right. So even though it goes every day or every week, every project manager gives a new date of status, a new status, and that's all what he has to give. And out of this, there are new messages are generated. Maybe we are a month later, the 4th of February. And of course, the project is outdated, and you see another message. This project has to be started. What's up? So this project has to be started on the 1st of February. So, okay, then you can go to the project manager and ask, of course, what's up? And he will say, of course, no, we are not started. Oh, then you know you are too late. You have to do something. Maybe he then wakes up and says, okay, I'm already in the constraint. That's a little too early, but so what? He should just not be later in the constraint. So the next thing is here, this is outdated, so he will go to the project manager there too. He won't get it on this date, maybe on the next one. And then, of course, it's also here a day later. So, and then you get the message, oh, you should be in the constraint already. So before the constraint, and then you are too late. And maybe the project manager says, okay, I'm really too late. So I need still 5 working days to come to the constraint. And then you will see you have to speed up to really come into the right phase. So now I just have to look one thing. So and that's very important to speed up. And the next thing is a few days later, and he says, okay, I'm in the constraint and everything is fine. I'm in the constraint and the message is done. The 5 days are, of course, done. And now you can do something even more detailed. So he's now in the constraint, and maybe we are on the 20th of February. So the project stuff is outdated. So you go around to the project managers, and he says, yes, I'm in the constraint, everything is fine. And this guy says, okay, yes, everything is fine, but I still need 10 days to get out of the constraint. So, and now you see, it's the 20th of February, and he says he needs additional 10 days. And that's later than the exit of the constraint. So here you get the message, oh, the current planning exceeding 6 days. So that means nothing else. You have to speed up typically 6 days in the constraint. This is not very easy, but maybe you find ideas or shift or resources or prioritize or something like that, or do overtime. Maybe there are many ideas, and that's a way you can really already start doing some kind of remaining days, like in critical chain. So you have at the date when you report the phase and the remaining days in the phase. And if it's exceeding the current phase, you already get the information that how many days you are too late. In this case, and on the next day, they find the idea how to solve the problem a little better. And it's not 10 days anymore, he says. I just need 4 days or something like that, and then everything will be finished before the planning date. Everything is stable, and that's it. But in the case he has some days to recover, maybe the last section will come into place. So here you see the 7 days have to be recovered, and then the project manager, Mr. Meyer, has to say, okay, we are looking for a technical new solution. I will show results maybe in 2 days. So, and that is already some kind of very minimal buffer regain management. And if you want, you can add here the root cause. Okay, one of our server crashed and we need a new one. And if you have this root causes also added here, after a while you can look through all the sheets, and then you see where are the problems, technical problems, organizational problems, process problems, or whatever. And then you can start thinking about solving these buffer consumers. So, and that's already a very simple critical chain like project reporting, not very high sophisticated. But our experience is that for most of the companies, this is already enough to keep an overview about the portfolio. And the interesting part of this is if you use already the remaining working days and the phases and stuff like this, you are already coming into the critical chain world, and it's used to do regular updates. So you're already starting into operational execution excellence world. And that's already a very good step into the possibility to really make multi-project management on a high-class level. And of course, a good project manager has some kind of a project plan behind, whether it's on a paper or in a tool, and he always looks where his project plan is according to these 4 dates. So it's not prohibited to have a more detailed plan, but it's not necessary for controlling the portfolio. And the idea is to have these hints all solved, and then you can be sure that your portfolio is stable and you will meet all the due dates. So yes, that's from my side. This is the 3.0 release of the SmartPipeliner, the EssentialFlow. Yeah, it's a good starting point into the theory of constraints, critical chain world. And that's the smallest possible way of doing multi-project management we know of. So I have to thank you for your patience and have a lot of fun with the SmartPipeliner and EssentialFlow. Thanks a lot.